Hello friends and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is part of the playlist, a new one called Python tutorial, and I'll give you a brief intro of Python and then discuss what data types are. As we speak, Python is growing in popularity around the world among the current breed of programming languages. It is a high-level general purpose programming language. In this series of videos, I will be using Jupyter Notebook, which the one that is right before your eyes right now. This is Jupyter Notebook. And installing Python and setting up Jupyter Notebook deserves its own tutorial, so I won't get into that right now. I'll get you up to speed by teaching you the ropes of Python. This doesn't need any programming background whatsoever, okay? So we're in Jupyter Notebook. Once you're in, again, I'll be discussing a separate video on tutorial on how to install this thing. But right now, let's just jump into Python. Once you're in Jupyter Notebook, I'll click on New, and then I will click on Python 3. And then it will create for me what's known as a Jupyter Notebook, a file with an extension of IPYNB. So once you're in, I click on what's this, untitled, and then I will rename the notebook something more meaningful. So right now I want to discuss data types to you. Okay, so right after doing that, the file has been renamed to this one, data types. Okay, so again, we will start for anybody who doesn't even have a background in programming, it doesn't matter. So we will start by learning about data types. Just by the name itself, you will get a clue that it's a type of data. A data type will tell you the type of data that you are dealing with, okay? So there are a couple of data types in Python, but we will discuss the most commonly used right now, okay? Don't overload yourself with stuff, with information. Okay, the first one we're gonna be learning about is a data type called string. So string is a bunch of characters. It is one or more characters that go together as one, and then it's a hard-coded value. So it may be letters, ABC. It can be numbers also, but a string is always enclosed in Python. Is always enclosed in either single quotes or double quotes, okay? And it can be literal, meaning letters. It can be a mix of upper, lowercase, or it can be numeric, but also it's enclosed in single or double quotes. Or it can be also alphanumeric, right? Combination of letters, or it can also be mixed with some other characters. Okay, let's just give me some time. Okay, let's start with string. Right now, while learning this, I will teach you what is called comment. Okay, a comment, when you are coding something and then you wanted some part of the code not to be executed by Python, for instance, then you will make a comment, which is done by using the hash character, this one. You notice the color used to be like this, black, and then some green here. And then when I added a hash in front, it became a different color. It is commented. When something is commented, you have two purposes of doing a comment. One is you don't want a certain part of the code to be executed or just to be ignored. You want it to be ignored. The other is if you want to add information that will help somebody reading the code. Okay. So there are a couple of data types. The first one we're dealing with is called string. String, again, is a bunch of characters. Okay, so this is what is known as a single line comment. Okay, a string, I will write it down here for you to see. Okay, a string is composed of one or more characters. Okay, and a string is enclosed in either single quotes or double quotes, just as I showed you earlier. At this early stage, you'll also be learning your first Python function. Okay, a function. Okay, function is a block of code or program code that returns a value. Okay, I will also comment again. This is comment. When you comment something, it will be ignored by the interpreter. So when you run something, this will not be interpreted as program. It will just be ignored. Okay, so a function is a block of code which does something logical, and then it returns a value. So the first function I'm going to teach you is called print. It's very useful for this exercise as well as the coming videos because it will help you to display. Could be a hard-coded value or uh, the value of a variable. Okay, so talking about string is the first data type you're gonna be using, you'll be learning, but in this same exercise, we'll keep on using the function called print. So I want you to get comfortable with both concepts. String is a kind of data type composed of any character, special character, even space can be a string, okay? Now let's try to use the print function. Again, function is a block of code that returns a value. Okay, it's a block of code that returns a value. It will perform logic and then it will return a value. Let's just say, I'll give an example of a string. Let's just say, I have a string called John. Remember, a string is composed of one or more characters, and it is enclosed in either single quotes or double quotes. So here, my string is John, and it's enclosed in single quotes. Okay, so this is a string. Now, print is a function. What is a function? It is code that returns a value. It performs logic and returns a value. So now I will just remove this for now. Okay, this is a comment. This is a comment. Now, print is your first function. A function is also known by, it has, this is the name of the function, and then it's followed by a pair of parentheses. And in that parentheses, you, depending on the function, it may or may not expect a parameter inside. So the one inside is called the parameter. So let's just go get ahead and execute the print function. In Jupyter Notebook, you'll be executing this by pressing Control Enter. So when I press Control Enter, I'm running everything that's in here. Again, this with the hash is a comment, so it will be ignored. The next one is also a comment. It's just for your info, so it will be ignored. The one that will be executed is only this part, print John. Print being a built-in function which displays something you're passing to it. So right now I'm passing this parameter called John, but John is of a data type which we call string. Okay, string. And a string is a bunch of characters, can be a single character, can be a bunch of characters, can be numeric, literal, alphanumeric, can also mix it with special characters. So when I execute print John, it is displaying exactly that. It doesn't print the single quotes. It only prints the value inside the single quotes. This is the string. But it's just that to write a string or to store it somewhere, it is being enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. Okay, so this is an example of a string. Now let's give you another example. So this is also a string. So it's composed of two words here, but in Python, this is a string value. Okay, from the beginning of the single quote until the end of the single quote, it's enclosing a string. So the value of the string is John Peters, including the space in between. Okay, so if I execute this now, it prints to the screen the value John Peters. So this is a string value. Okay, that's a string. Now we're gonna be moving on for you to learn a new data type, which is integer. Okay, let me just Okay, I'll remove the function here so you don't get confused. So integer, let me get in the interest of time, I'm trying to copy paste things like that. Okay. So an integer is a signed whole number. Okay, a signed whole number. Okay, so let me just get one to see. You'll see what I mean. Because it is a whole number. The whole number here is 12. Okay, if I will print this, it will print 12. It's printing also John Peters because when I execute, it executes everything inside this box over here. Okay, so if I don't want this part, print John Peters, to be executed, simple, I will also comment it by adding a hash in front. Okay, so if I execute it now, it will only execute the one that is uncommented. So it's printing or displaying the integer value, which is 12. Again, integer is a signed whole number. So it's a whole number. I guess, I hope you understand what a whole number is. It doesn't have a decimal value to it. But when we say signed, that means the number could either go away, either go positive or negative. Okay, so meaning we could also do something like this: print negative 12,000. That's also an integer. So because an integer is a signed whole number, when we say signed, it can either be a positive number or a negative number. Okay, so you learned your second data type. The first data type you learned was string. The second is integer. The next we're gonna be learning is called float. Okay, I'll add a comment here. So again, a comment will be ignored. A float is numbered with decimal value. Okay, so let's just show you this one. I'll start with a small number. Okay, 2.56. So it has a decimal value, whereas here an integer is a whole number. A float is a numeric value with decimal value. Okay, so I will print this. I will now comment the integer so you will know. You'll not be confused. Okay, I'll focus on the float. Execute this, so it prints or displays 2.56, which is of the data type float. A float is a number value with a decimal value. The decimal value here is this 0.56. Okay, so you can even make it so long, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's also a float. So here you learned 3 data types. Data type is simply type of data. In your programming, as you learn in your programming language journey, programming journey, you cannot escape dealing with data. You will always deal with data, or almost always, while programming. That's the purpose of programming, is to be able to handle data, to manipulate it, to query it, to add something to it, to delete something from it. That is the essence of programming. You're making something reusable. So here you learn a couple of things. You learned about commenting. We know that commenting has 2 purposes. One is to let a part of the code not be executed, and the other one is simply to add information that you want. Like in this case, this is not a command, but information for the one reading this code. I'm saying an integer is a signed whole number. That's comment. Second thing you learn here are 3 most commonly used data types in Python. First one is string, which is a bunch of characters. Second one is integer, which is a signed whole number. It can be positive, it can be negative. And the third one is float, which is a number with decimal value. Okay, along with that, you learned your first function, which is print. And function is a block of code which does something logical and then returns a value. So right now, when I execute this print 2.56 blah blah blah, it is returning to me. It is returning to you the value that I have passed as a parameter. Okay, A function is identified by a function name. In this case, the function name of this is print. I know it's a function because it's also followed by a pair of parentheses, okay? And inside that is what is called a parameter, okay? That's a parameter you're passing, and a function will return it. It's okay. So we learned a couple of things. Data types. These are the three main data types. We'll be discussing the other data types later on, but along with that, you'll be learning things here and there. Just like now, you learned about how to comment. This is called a single line comment. You also learned your first function called print. Okay. I hope you learned something new. This is a new playlist delving on Python, and watch out for more. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and click the bell. Hope to see you in the next video.